Dr. Tamara, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, I love this podcast. I love what you guys do in this podcast. So thanks for having me back.
Your first episode was a hit because I think the world has woken up, maybe it's fair to say, to ADHD and its prevalence and also just the impact of it.
Yeah.
And you came and spoke to my clients. You were so insightful. Like some of them, I still have one of them. He's a friend who was doing my program, and he still talks about your talk. And
Oh,
just
wow.
one little piece of advice you gave, like, is this a stimulant or is it a relaxant? How am I using this? And that kind
Yeah.
of, dictating the coping strategies. Anyways, we can get into all of that again today if that's valuable to the audience. But just to say, you're doing incredible work, and I'm really, really honored to
Thanks.
have you back on.
Oh, I'm
So,
so happy to be here.
yeah. So maybe as a place to just kind of kick it off, ADHD is, like you said before we hit record, like people are coming out of the woodwork. I think
Mhm.
I still remember the kid with ADD in my class. He was bouncing off the walls. The teacher couldn't control him, but he was kind of the one kid that had it,
The little weirdo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you
Yeah.
had your own story with ADHD. I'm sure you know exactly what that was like.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know what the percentages are. Maybe we can start there. What percentage of the population has ADHD right now?
Well, that's still being debated because we don't actually know. And here's why
Sure.
we don't know. There's some of us who are subclinical, and subclinical means we don't meet the diagnostic criteria, but we have an ADHD brain. And so, an
Mm,
old way of seeing ADHD is, well, you have to meet this criteria and it's a disorder.
right.
A newer way of understanding ADHD is, no, it's a different operating system. And whether or
Mm,
not it interferes with your life, that's the problem that we need to
huh.
address. But
Yes.
when you have ADHD, you need to understand you have a different operating system.
Okay.
When I'm talking with large groups, I have a picture on a PowerPoint of an Android and an iPhone because both groups are strong. They have strong feelings about their operating
Yeah.
systems, right?
Right.
Um, it's not right or wrong. It's just we have different operating systems. So what do I
Mm,
mean by that? There's been so much research to come out since you and I have talked.
okay.
And a lot of the research is saying we actually have different nervous systems.
Hmm.
Um, we are more likely to have, especially females, but um, like inflammation, allergies,
Hmm.
um, all inflammatory diseases. We're more likely to have POTS, Ehlers-Danlos
Hmm.
syndrome. So all this that's hypermobility.
Right. These are all
And
autoimmune
so,
too, right?
yep,
Yeah.
not really for that's
Oh.
hypermobility.
Oh, okay, okay.
But autoimmune things just show up with ADHD. And
Hmm.
so there's these theories saying, wow, it looks like they have a different way of interacting with the world. And I think that's kind of where I like to see ADHD. So, you know, I might present subclinical, which means if I were seeing someone who would diagnose me, at this point they'd say, yeah, it's not really getting in the way of your life, Tamara. I'm not going to diagnose you. Let me guarantee you, sir, that I have ADHD. I have to work so hard to appear normal, and normal with air quotes, right?
Sure.
But I have to work so hard at details, deadlines. I have to work harder than the average person.
Hmm.
And so I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm just going to say this little thing and then I'll stop nerding out for a little bit.
No,
But
it's fine.
remember, ADHD, our brains operate differently. So, you might remember this from the last time. Um, I have your listeners tap their foreheads, and
Okay.
behind where they're tapping, that's the prefrontal cortex.
Right.
And that is like having this really lovely, sophisticated butler just on duty. He's calm. Tamara, you left your keys here. Tamara, you're going to need to get gas before you go here. Tamara, you parked your car here. Now's a good time to leave the house. And why don't you pack your bag tonight? Just all these calm reminders. I don't have any of those, okay? But the butler is like organizing, structure, kind of directs my attention. That's what the
Okay.
prefrontal cortex does. Now, those of us with ADHD, if your listeners kind of cup their ear, right where they're cupping is this limbic center.
Right.
And I'm sure your listeners have heard this word. The amygdala is in there. Remember the amygdala? That's in charge of fight, flight, freeze, appease, right?
Hmm.
And that amygdala is constantly searching to see if something is scary or something we need to pay attention to. Not the
Hmm.
logical butler going, hey, it would be reasonable if you set out your clothes and packed your computer bag the night before. Good job, butler. No, no, no. The twitchy little amygdala is looking for alarms to go off. And when the alarms go off, the messages go to an emotional center. And
Hmm.
that's why those of us with ADHD have big feelings. And those of us with ADHD, we don't have as much access to that calm butler.
Hmm.
Mine's today. Mine is out playing with a squirrel somewhere, chasing him through the autumn leaves. So, so because I can't rely on that butler, I tend to rely on the limbic center, like what sets off my alarms.
Huh. Okay. Okay. So let me backtrack because
Yep.
my again, and this is just a self confession. My knowledge of ADHD is primarily driven by just little pieces of content that I catch here and there on Instagram or wherever. I'm
Yep.
not well versed on the subject, so I want to just go back and just see if even some of the things I picked up are correct.
Yep.
What I heard you say earlier, and I love the subclinical language because it's very relevant to even what we talk about. Because
Hmm.
pornography addiction is very debated, and there's not specific diagnosable criteria. But if you have a pornography addiction or pornography has affected your life, you
Yes.
don't need to check those
Yes.
boxes per se. The neurodivergent versus neurotypical brain, is that the language you would agree with to describe those two kind of different kinds of nervous system?
Yes.
Okay.
So in neurodivergent, that can include autism, that can include a lot of other things. But for
Yes.
today, we can just use neurodivergent and know that a lot of people who are neurodivergent also, um, not having ADHD, also fall into the different kind of nervous system.
Right. Okay, so if you're neurodivergent, then what I heard you say is the prefrontal cortex, it's there,
Is
but
there?
maybe it's not, I guess it's not active, or the access to it is not the same as a
No.
neurotypical brain.
Right.
And because
Right.
of that, the thing that so in a neurotypical brain, the prefrontal cortex can actually kind of like navigate your attention and what you pay attention to, where you focus your
Yeah.
energy. Without that neurotypical prefrontal cortex activity,
Hmm.
you then resort to whatever the limbic system starts to flag. And obviously, the limbic system's job is just to identify threats, more or less.
That's exactly it. Now, here's the catch. You know that really calm, delightful butler that we have, or I would love to have access to? He keeps us away from addictions. He says, that's enough, Tamara, or that's probably not a good idea. And so when you don't have that active butler, you're more prone to addictions,
Hmm.
any kinds of addictions. And we tend to have, you know how, there's that meme of the rat pushing the button to get the treat? That's
Yeah.
kind of the behavior that we get locked into um, when we have an absent butler.
Hmm.
So
Just
we're
like a lack of
pressing.
guardrails, kind of.
Yes. Um, yeah. It's like, yeah, guardrails just to keep us, but okay, in research, there's a lot of researchers will train lab rats to hit a button and they get a treat. And they'll train them and look, I've trained a rat. Um, the reason I use that is for those of us with ADHD, that's how we get the dopamine. If I press this button, I get this response. Yay! This response. I press this button. Yay! Feels good. And that's kind of how our brain, and without the butler to go, okay, that's enough. We're very susceptible to all types of addictions.
Wow. Okay, so lots to ask you about that, but maybe one more question first,
Yeah.
which is if if there are, the diagnostic criteria for ADHD, and a
Yeah.
clinician will say, unless you check these boxes, you don't have ADHD, and you're kind of saying, no, no, no. If it's interfering with your life, and it's clear that
Yeah.
the way you're experiencing life follows these patterns, safe to
Yes.
say you have it. Does that create risk of overdiagnosis, or people mistakenly thinking they have ADHD when maybe they have something that could be similar?
Yeah. We have to be careful when we're assessing for ADHD because there are other things it can mimic. However, I see the opposite happen frequently,
Yes.
especially with people with higher IQs. They'll get diagnosed with anxiety or anything else because ADHD is still kind of that dumb boy disease, that
Right.
third
Like, you can
grade
be
dumb boy.
intelligent and also have
Exactly.
ADHD.
There's still that
Okay.
bias out there.
Okay.
Um, and so we have to be very careful and we have to do rule outs. We have to rule out other things to make sure. Someone recently at the ADHD center, um, a client came in and she's hearing things. She's like, we have to rule out narcolepsy first. So she was hearing enough things where
Hmm.
she's like, I can't say it's ADHD. It could be narcolepsy. And sure enough,
Hmm.
it was. So we have to
Okay.
listen very carefully. Not everyone has ADHD, but it is highly prevalent. Oh, and it's highly inheritable. So if you have a dad or a mom with it, you have 60% or higher likelihood of having
Hmm.
it yourself.
60%.
60%.
Oh,
You
sheesh.
realize in medicine, if someone has a 0.05, they start to pay attention to it,
Right. Yeah.
right? This is a zero point 0.6. So
Wow.
this is huge.
So, okay, so that begs a whole nother set of questions. So is there even that 60%, how much of that is nature and nurture? Because you're talking about nervous system, so this sounds more genetic as I'm thinking about it. But is it
Yeah.
that? Is there a nurture component, or is it mostly just genes
Okay.
passing on?
All right. So this is a tricky answer. So I'm going to, ADHD is very sensitive to its environment. So if you put me in the right environment, man, I can look like a genius. If you
Okay.
put me in the wrong environment, I look like a big dummy. So
Okay.
we're sensitive to environment, but ADHD isn't only behavioral, it's neurologically based. So we can
Hmm.
see ADHD in the brain.
Okay.
So I work with a family, and I can see the ADHD in 3 generations, and they're all doctors. Cool beans.
Hmm.
That's great. They all happen to have married women who didn't have ADHD.
Right.
Do you see the environment came in and protected them? And
Interesting.
yeah, so
Is
does
there
that make
is there anything
sense?
that No, it makes perfect sense. And then, like, I guess, is there anything of, like, opposites attract? Are ADHD people more likely to end up with people who don't? Is there a stabilizing kind of
Ah,
thing there? I'm just curious. Maybe
yeah.
these aren't fair
So
questions to
it's
ask.
no, it's so interesting because I see both.
Okay.
Um, it kind of depends with who you were raised. So a pattern I see is
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
that
this
makes
is
sense.
just anecdotal pattern. A pattern I see is if you had a neurotypical mom, you go out and look for a neurotypical mom if you have ADHD because
Okay.
that's who was modeled for you.
Yes.
If your family was a goat rodeo, everyone had ADHD, you're going to go, I'll marry someone with ADHD. And maybe let's throw some autism in there just to make it
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
I work with both kinds of couples. I'm married to a man who has ADHD,
Okay.
and we just high five each other when we get the trash out.
Right.
Um, he did some really solid moves this fall, kind of getting our house ready for winter, and he's just on top of it. And I make sure to go, you're nailing it, buddy. And I say that because it's hard to grown up when you
Yeah.
have ADHD.
Yeah.
And I appreciate all the work he does.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So how should people find out for sure if they have it? Like, I think you were talking earlier, like, you have a
Yeah.
phenomenal clinic. You're helping a lot of people who are struggling with this. Should they see a professional and make sure that they get the right assessment?
Well, if you're feeling like you're having problems with addiction, Yes. So here's a couple misunderstandings about treatment for ADHD. Um, so the number one treatment for ADHD is a stimulant, and a stimulant is not addictive. In fact, it helps bring the butler back
Hmm.
and go, "Hey, butler, can you help me with this?"
Hmm.
And
That
now
sounds
stimulants,
counterintuitive because
it
people
is
would think
counterintuitive.
with the wiriness
Exactly.
of, yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. What calms me down probably hypes you up. It's a paradoxical reaction.
Hmm.
And so I can now too much caffeine and I'll still be like jittery. But a lot of time before I was diagnosed, and I would have a public speaking event. Usually they were like at conferences in a hotel. I'd go to the hotel bar and say, I need a tall glass of iced tea without ice. And I'd guzzle that down, self
Okay.
medicating, and go up on stage and speak. And I would do that because that caffeine acted as a stimulant and it calmed my brain down.
Huh.
I know this it's a paradoxical response, but my butler comes back, my dopamine. Um, so I'm trying to I talk with my hands all the time, but I know your listeners are probably listening, not watching.
We're recording video as well, so it's okay. They'll get
Okay.
it on YouTube.
So when you have your dopamine's dysregulated when you have ADHD, so it pings up and down, up and down. And when you take a stimulant, and especially time release stimulant, it just evens it out to more even waves.
Okay.
And so you're not just pinging from dopamine high to dopamine low all day, which is exhausting.
Okay. Got it. So it kind of just spreads it out over longer periods of time.
Yes. Here's the
Okay.
problem though. When it comes to treatment for ADHD and considering addictions, the problem is we have a window of medicated time. During that window, we're going to be okay. Our butler's going to go, no, that's not a great choice for us. Outside of that window, outside of that medical window, our butler is out back chasing squirrels again. And so that's the caveat of that.
Hmm.
But we need to not be afraid of treating ADHD. The research is we get in less accidents, we have better health overall,
Hmm.
and less addictions. Um, and for teens, the promiscuity goes down, impulsive
Wow.
decision making, binge drinking, all that declines.
When ADHD is treated properly.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Got
I'm
it.
going to add
So
a really sad fact here.
okay.
Okay. And this is sad. I mean, this is stuff that keeps me up at night. Untreated ADHD, um, we tend to live 13 years less than
Wow.
our neurotypical, neuronormative counterparts.
Huh.
Yeah, that's how
My.
serious this ADHD stuff is. It's not just about that boy eating paste anymore in
Yeah.
third grade. This should be a national health crisis. Going,
Yeah.
wait a minute, let's get help for individuals.
Huh.
Now there are some people who will go, ADHD is just a gift.
Okay.
And it's my strength. It's my superpower. And I say that kind of in that tone because it's not when you're living in the situation we're living in. It might have
Yeah.
been maybe 2,000 years ago. We might have looked like geniuses.
Right.
Um, but for the most part, right now, the world is complicated enough, and having that butler handy, that's the edge. That's your
Hmm.
advantage to living
Mm-hmm.
well with
Yeah, it's
ADHD
true.
or living well. So,
So interesting. Man, I feel like just 1,000 questions off of every single thing that you say. So, okay, the other language that you're using is nervous system. So I haven't heard you use the word brain a lot. You're talking
yeah.
about the nervous system. So, in addition to the brain, I mean, we did talk about the prefrontal cortex, the limbic system. That's
Yeah.
obviously within the brain. Um, Are there other parts of the nervous system as well that are quite different between somebody who's neuronormative and somebody who's neurodivergent?
Well, I've been following the research on this. What I think where they oh, and by the way, ADHD people tended to get COVID more and have long COVID more. I mean, yeah,
Because
the
of, is
research,
that immunity
like,
related or what is that?
well, it says that we're a quirky little bunch who needs to be studied. That's what that's telling me, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying this is we don't have all the answers, but we do know that we respond to the world. And it could just be as simple as, hey, without that prefrontal cortex butler, we don't have anything to help us understand the world. And so things are coming in and we misconstrue threats all the time. Could
Hmm.
be that simple.
Hmm.
It could be more cellular based. At this point, we don't really know.
Hmm.
And the research this is such a great time to be following the research
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
learning so much.
Huh. How much does technology and like, do you think that
Oof,
50
yes.
years ago, this conversation is basically the same, but it's just people don't understand and there's a lot
Yeah.
of unrealized ADHD, or has something shifted that has caused a greater prevalence?
Okay. So ADHD has been around.
For sure.
In my family, I can trace it back.
Okay.
I mean, I have a grandfather born in 1913
Okay.
um, who had a sixth grade education. He was a very smart man, but he was left
Hmm.
handed and ADHD.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Teachers are like, just get out of here. I mean, because
Right.
they didn't have to finish. And so he dropped out and went to go work in a copper mine, right?
Hmm.
And again, that's different times.
Yeah.
He was smart. He moved to Grand Rapids, taught himself how to be an engineer, and made himself incredibly valuable at a factory fixing machinery
Hmm.
and developing new machinery. You
Wow.
can't do that these days. Do you get?
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
First, no one has a sixth grade education and can teach him and still be accepted in society.
Yeah.
So things like that have always, and he was so smart. I learned so much from him. All he would read all the time. I remember he taught me about this thing that happens in the soil that's depleted. It's called selenium. And he's like, Tamara, your generation won't have enough selenium. You're going to need to supplement it.
Wow.
And every time I hear a podcast or something talking about selenium, I'm like, so he was smart. He actually
Huh.
wanted to go to college. He put his brother through college because, again, back then you kind of did things like that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the times are different. So now his great grandchildren have his ADHD. Well, actually, both my grandfathers had ADHD.
Okay.
How do you know my other grandfather had ADHD? Glad you asked. He was missing most of his fingers. And this is before OSHA, right? And he was
Okay.
born around 1910. And he worked
I don't know what
at
OSHA is, by the way.
OSHA. It's the place that makes workplace safe for people.
Oh, I
So
see.
there's
Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
kinds of rules. They're the people that say, no, that should have a guard over that blade, right?
Okay, okay.
This
Yes.
is before OSHA had
Okay.
guards. And so, one time he accidentally cut his thumb off because he always worked very quickly. And I just remember I would get nervous, even though I was just a little kid working around him, because he'd move too quickly and too carelessly.
Hmm.
And as a result, he was missing a lot of fingers.
Jeez.
Um, yeah. And that was literally a thing. Um,
Huh.
Another thing you saw like in older generations was alcoholism. Um, where if there
Hmm.
was alcoholism, you would start to suspect ADHD.
Hmm.
So this has been around, but now I'm going to reveal I'm super old. So I am of the generation where we were feral children and our parents were like, yeah, just go play. And that was actually good for my ADHD. Being a feral child loose on a 10-speed bike in a small town.
Mm.
That was great, right? Kids now don't have that. Now they're in the basement. They're playing video games all. And so
No.
now we've shifted. And we've removed ourselves more from nature. And there's something with nature in the ADHD brain. We don't fully understand all of it, but we do sense a difference when ADHD people are in nature.
Hmm.
And by nature, I just mean like, sunlight, maybe
Yeah.
seeing a green patch or something. I'm not talking wilderness, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's so interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the addiction piece. You mentioned alcoholism,
yeah.
and earlier, even earlier in the interview, you talked about how just without the butler or
Yep.
something to kind of keep
Yep.
you safeguarded, more prone to addiction. So I guess that's because we have maybe like a neurotypical person has something built in that eventually would say, "Oh, this is probably too much. I should take a break. I should
Yeah.
stop,"
Yeah.
or I can see if I keep doing this thing late at night, it's probably going to lead to a habit. Let me just not do that to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, and those things are not there, or they're certainly not there with that kind of clarity for someone that's
Right.
neurotypical, neurodivergent,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so then what is how does addiction develop? And I guess now I'm asking, I'm thinking about if I had a kid, who maybe has ADHD, how important is the way that child gets reared so that
Yeah.
they don't fall into some of these addictions, especially now with tech, video games, social media, obviously pornography,
Yeah.
all of that.
Oh, pornography is so easy to get.
Hmm.
And it's so easy to get on your phone.
Yes.
And it's so easy to work around parent controls.
Yeah.
We're seeing a huge problem with it at the center, at the
Hmm.
ADHD center where I work. So um, we're seeing younger and younger children. And so this is really, really a huge issue. So when you're raising a child, you have to understand their brain's going to want to be addicted. One of my ADHD children, I'm not going to name which one, she knows who she is. She was addicted to sugar so much that I would find spoons in her sugar. She would just eat sugar by the
Wow.
spoonful. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, think about what that does for the ADHD brain. Sugar is actually addictive, by the way. That's been demonstrated.
Oh
So
yes.
she would eat this, get this like little high, and then crash, go back for more. Right?
Hmm.
I literally stopped buying sugar. I mean, let's face it, I don't bake anyway, so why did I have it? Um, I had to be real with who I was. So anyway, so I had to be very careful, and I changed my behavior based on how she was showing addictive personalities. Right.
Okay.
So I'm not a kind of person that I don't think all screens are bad.
Yeah.
I think it's adorable. I work with a family, and um, these kids wake up in the morning and they want to watch this YouTube channel on farming, and it's just a guy farming every day, and they just watch it. Okay, I think that's an adorable little thing to watch. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. They're picking up little farming things. I don't know what they're doing, but the mom has watched it with it's almost like a reality TV show, but about farming,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No
Right.
drama, no producers there stirring stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay screen time. I mean, it's almost educational.
Yeah.
But we have to look at what the screen time is doing. So, two things. Is it causing like an addictive, like I can't stop scrolling. I'm just scrolling, scrolling. That's the addictive loop. And ADHD people find themselves in it just like that. So if
Mm.
I were a parent, I'd be watching for that. I have to tell you, I this would be a hard thing to do, but I would not allow, especially girls, but children on social media.
Mm.
I would be very unpopular with my own child. They'd hate me for it, but I would have to be so careful because the research on children and social media is devastating. So
Yes.
that's the kind of screen time that I think is
Yeah.
bad.
Yep.
And even in social media, there's different kinds of things. Like
Yes.
TikTok is made to be addictive,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
Just
candy.
the next thing. Just keep going.
Next thing. And sometimes, and I've even done it, like I was interested, but my fingers
Yeah.
flicking. And I'm like, oh, wait, go back. I did want to see that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Means I'm in that addictive loop.
Hmm.
I actually, for myself, I have a timer on how long I can spend on TikTok because
Hmm.
I can get in that loop easily, right? I have ADHD. I'm not above this stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The ADHD brain, you said guardrails. It's like we don't have the guardrails.
Hmm.
For me, this came around eating, right? I never understood how people had leftover pizza. Like, well, if you buy a pizza, why wouldn't you just eat the whole pizza? That was because the concept of eating till I was full required a butler.
Hmm.
So I just ate the whole pizza.
Wow.
Yeah. It's why when I eat potato chips, I mean, potato chips, French fries, never met a French fry I didn't like. I always have to like portion because I can just keep eating it. I don't have the
Huh.
butler to go, that'll do. That's enough.
Right.
So even things that aren't supposed to be addictive can be addictive for us.
So
This
interesting.
is how serious we are. So we want to start, if we're working with children, we want to start talking to them about their brains. And we want to start to say, is this feeding your brain good food right now? Is it too much food? And we start talking to them about what's good. Um, if in my first book, I kind of have a model for doing that. It's called the Solve It Grid. And a lot of parents use that with their kids to kind of talk about when activities turn a little bit addictive.
Hmm.
Because I want them to be aware of the little bit addictive
Yeah. Yeah.
for when it comes to be the real addictions.
Huh. Okay, very interesting. So you can kind of use that language of like feeding the brain.
Yeah.
And I guess asking your kids questions is what allows them to build that awareness that maybe isn't there naturally for them.
Yep. Yep. And you start talking to your little kiddos, like 5, 6 years old, um, about their brains. And it can be simple. Huh. And, little kids will start to pick up and go, Mom, my brain told me to tell you that lie. And then this is a family I was working with. And the mom's like, oh, well, then what do you need to tell your brain next time? Right? The smart little kid was blaming, like, hey, I can't help it. I have a brain that did it. And the mom's right there going, cool. What do you need to do then?
Right.
Right. But see, the great thing of that, the mom was all worried because the child was trying to blame the brain. I'm like, no, it just shows your child's smart and sees a loop in the system. That's okay. Close that loop.
Yeah.
We're still responsible for what our brain does. And so
Yeah.
you just kind of relax and go, well, what do you want to do next time? Because that didn't feel good when you got in trouble for lying, did it?
Hmm.
What do you want to tell your brain next time?
Hmm.
And I love 5 and 6 year olds so much because they've just, I don't know if you've had a 5 or 6 year old yet, but they're just these wonderful creatures who have life figured out. They've been on this planet for 5 to 6 years and they have theories. And they're like, and when you say to a 5 or 6 year old, what's your plan on that, buddy? And they'll go, okay, so first I am just going to say no. Next time I want to lie, I'm going to say no, sir. True story. And you're like, okay, so what are you going to say after no, sir? And so you just get that conversation talking.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously I can see the value of having those conversations early.
Yeah.
Because and I'm even thinking of myself, I don't think I mentioned this to you, but the first time that you were on the show, after the interview, I remember thinking, huh, my wife has ADHD. I was convinced. And you can also describe what it's like to be with someone who has ADHD. And I was like, yes, I've gone through all of that.
Yes, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. And my wife was going through a lot at the time, like complex PTSD. And she was kind of in a season of just getting almost like too many labels and diagnoses and
Yep.
whatever. So I just kind of kept quiet.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to give her another label or another thing to worry about. And 2 years later, we were driving home from, I think, my grandparents' place, is a couple hours away. And she says, "Hey, I need to share something with you. It's really hard for me." And I'm like, "Okay." I have no idea what she's about to say.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Well, I've been doing some research, and I'm pretty sure I have ADHD." And I shouldn't have done it, but I burst out laughing. I just said, "Oh yeah, I know you do," and I've known for a while. And she was like, "What? What do you mean you know?" And I was like, "Oh, we had an ADHD expert come through, and she explained everything, and she was literally just describing you to a T, babe." But I didn't bring it up at the time because you remember all this
Right.
other stuff, and she understood. But and it was actually very relieving for her. She was glad I laughed because she thought she was going to get condemned and judged
You
and
know
all
what I
that.
love? That
What's
almost
that?
demonstrates your neuronormative brain. You were able to
Right,
wait
that
2
could wait two
years.
years. Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, I'm sitting on," like,
yeah.
I would think not to say it, but then it'd blurt out somehow.
Yeah,
Or I
right.
would start like, yeah, I just think that's hilarious, so
Yeah, you're right. That is a good demonstration. And I had forgotten about it. It's not like I was waiting for some moment. I
no.
forgot about it. Every time I'd
Yeah.
hear a piece about dealing with someone with ADHD, I would kind of pay attention to it and think, "Oh yeah, I'm going to try that with my wife," or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess where I'm going with all this, anyways, is that I think for somebody who's listening to this that isn't a parent, or and is obviously past their developmental stages,
Yeah.
and is a proper adult now, and is
Yep.
realizing, okay, I didn't have a parent who could talk me through it.
Nope.
I didn't even know I had it until maybe recently. Somehow in this wave they discovered it.
Yeah.
What should they do? What are
Yes.
some of the steps people should be taking to try to get that butler a little bit more engaged, as it were?
Yeah. So first of all, if you're actively addicted, seek help, meaning um, go to a therapist, get diagnosed, because treating it with a stimulant can increase your likelihood of beating what you want. So
Hmm.
that's like the first thing. It like if you are in the depths and struggling. Um,
Yeah. Oh, can I
I
pause you there for a sec?
yeah,
I actually want to ask a question about the stimulant thing, because you used the stimulant example earlier before you used to go on stage, before you knew
yep,
you had ADHD,
yeah,
gallon of iced tea. No, not a gallon, but you drink
yeah.
a big iced tea
Oh, it
before
was
you
a
go
lot.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that was an example of the stimulant, the caffeine in the
yeah,
iced tea that you said would actually help you regulate. It help your nervous
yeah,
system relax.
yeah,
But then you use the example with your daughter who is addicted to sugar.
yep,
And I'm curious, why are those different? Why is sugar not being the stimulant
yeah.
maybe sugar's not a stimulant, I don't know. Why is
It's
it
not
not the thing
right.
that, okay, so it's not a stimulant. So that's why
It's
that
not
doesn't
actually.
work there.
It, it's a great question though. Sugar gives you a dopamine release, and this is for all humans.
Okay.
It feels so good. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
reason why our food supply is so messed up and there's sugar in everything
Yes.
because it feels good. Good chemicals are released in your brain when you eat sugar.
Okay.
And the
But it's
ADHD
not
brain's like,
because
more.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not because it's a stimulant. It's because it's causing a
Yeah.
release of dopamine.
Yes. And other
Okay.
good feeling things. So
Yeah.
carbs do this too.
Yes.
Um, so simple carbs especially
Okay,
will
makes
kind of
sense.
have that same kind of release.
Okay.
I cut sugar out of my diet about 2 years ago, and,
Refined sugar?
uh, yes, I still have some like, I had blueberries today.
Yeah.
Listen how
Yeah.
wild I am. I know you wanna party with me, like, "Woo, blueberries, slow down, queen." But, but that's, I'm very, very like I sometimes I'll have honey, but I'm very
Okay.
careful. And the reason I did that is because I have a genetic predisposition to developing type 2 diabetes.
Okay. But
And
then there's a nice
I
benefactor for
exactly. And
okay.
now I have, so it has actually helped reduce my ADHD symptoms too.
Wow.
So that's a nice side effect.
Hmm.
But I pretty much live a pretty strict lifestyle. So I'm not saying that's for everyone. I'm saying people over 50 might want to get super serious about their health, you
Yeah.
don't you don't have to do that. So,
Yeah.
but eating healthy as you can is going to give your brain and body a better chance.
Okay.
So, there are things that we know you can do for yourself, making sure you have enough magnesium. Um, Especially if you're with those ADHD people that get startled easily, boost up the magnesium. Most of my clients are deficient in it, and there's a specific kind called magnesium threonate, and that
Hmm.
crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's a smooth muscle relaxer kind of for the brain. So
Okay.
that's a great small thing you can do for yourself. If you think you have ADHD, start moving in this direction and start thinking, what are the small things that I can do for myself? Just the small things.
Yeah.
So last night I was doing a webinar. There were 14,000 people who signed up for it.
Jeez.
And I know I try not to think about that because I get a little, and it was
I
past my
see.
bedtime. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Because can only take stimulants so late in the evening.
yeah.
Um, it wasn't really past my bedtime. I was being dramatic there. It started at 7:30 and I don't go to bed at 7:30, but
All right.
I am ready to not talk to
Yeah,
humans at
you're winding
7:30.
down then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm winding down. Okay. So, but as I was talking about how ADHD people motivate themselves emotionally. And sometimes we motivate ourselves emotionally with these wicked things like anxiety, anger, all of this kind of horrible motivational tricks, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then I said, and then all of this leads to self doubt because we're motivating ourselves emotionally. Well, what's like, who am I if I'm just doing this thing? And so then we
Hmm.
start doubting ourselves. We screw up a lot. So we look at someone, you might see this in your wife, like she might have people pleasing behaviors.
Hmm.
And that's, remember, the appease part of the fight, flight, freeze, and appease is
Hmm.
people pleasing. A lot of us learn to do that. So the comments that were showing up in the chat are, oh my gosh, I do doubt myself all the time. I do. And something that came up even before I said it in the chat was, I hate myself.
Hmm.
And I wanted to bring this up today because a lot of us with ADHD who are adults, who are not raised where, someone's helping us along in our journey, we've learned to motivate ourselves by hating ourselves.
Wow.
I know it sounds dark, doesn't it? If you go
Hmm.
home and talk to your wife about this, I bet you she can talk about it.
Hmm.
And it's sad. It's a sad place to be. Now, combine that with our draw toward addictions. Now we get stuck in the loop.
Huh.
And now we're trying to hate ourselves out of this loop. If I can just hate myself enough, I'll stop it.
Right.
And that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring that up as if you think you have ADHD, we need to start to be more gentle. Not permissive. That's not what I'm saying. Just gentle with yourself.
Hmm.
ADHD is a neurological difference. It should be treated. And I'm sorry the US doesn't take it as seriously as I think we should. But
Yeah.
guess what? It's serious. And so be
Hmm.
kind enough to yourself and start to catch those moments of self doubt that actually lead to self loathing. And
Hmm.
I bet you have listeners who are just stuck in that self loathing. I just hate myself. I hate myself for doing this thing. And then it's just this cycle, and they're trying to get out through just being mad at themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that
The
ring true
self
for you? I mean, not you personally, but
Well,
for what?
yeah. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm even thinking about our client base. I think
Yeah,
self-hatred is a huge part of it, and we often attribute it to the addiction, continuing in something that's very shameful. But obviously, what you're suggesting here is another layer of somebody who has ADHD and how that kind
exactly.
of factors in. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really really insightful. I wanted to ask you on the note about being gentle towards yourself. Because again, that's really cool. Like it's very synonymous with what we would tell people who have addictions as well, is that
Yeah.
self-compassion is important. And we as practitioners believe that a lot of our clients don't have the compassion for themselves that they need. So our
Right.
job is to be a compassion bank. They can borrow it from us
Yeah.
until they have enough for themselves, right? Um,
Love that.
how much does the comparison culture factor into this? And I was thinking earlier, even the language of neurotypical,
Yeah.
versus neuro, like there's an implication there, which is that you're not
Yeah.
typical
You're broken.
and you're broken, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I know my wife definitely, as a mom and someone who's, whatever, ADHD or type B, there's different categorizations here,
Yeah.
but definitely can struggle sometimes to see the mom who's just on it and organized
Yes.
and doing all the things that she can't
The
do.
Insta
And
mom. Instagram mom.
the Insta mom, 100%.
Yeah.
So what should somebody do if they find themselves in that trap, kind of feeling the inferiority or insecurity and
Yeah.
belonging to, I'm sure everyone with ADHD at some point has just said, man, I wish my brain would just be normal or just do X, Y,
Yeah.
Z. How does somebody deal with that?
Well, and remember, when you have ADHD, we can be intelligent, but
Yeah.
the simple things, the things that should be simple for us, are stupidly difficult. Leaving the house on time, answering email, filling out forms, like the stuff that are easy.
Hmm.
And so we go through life going, it shouldn't be this hard. And then we're
Hmm.
like, wow, what's wrong with me? Why? Why? And I just see other people having clean houses, kids, I guess the laundry's done somehow. Their
Yeah.
kids don't always have sticky jam hands. I don't know. One of my kids always had sticky jam hands. I don't even know where it came from. And I just remember like looking, going, am I screwing my kids up because I can't get my act together? Right?
Hmm.
We need to have so much grace for ourselves. And
Hmm.
so I really work with clients to help them embrace like a growth mindset rather than a fixed mindset.
Hmm.
So again, I don't think ADHD is a death sentence. No, it's a neurological system that doesn't work great in our current system because our current system demands a lot of butler work. But
Yeah.
that's it just means I'm not really in the right century, right?
Yeah.
If I were in a different century, I might look like Da Vinci. Not
Right.
really, he was a genius, but you get the idea. Da Vinci did probably have ADHD.
Hmm.
But if you ever like follow his work, he was a kind of weird for his generation.
True.
Genius, weird, and barely could feed himself. Like
Hmm.
people brought him food because he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I guess I have to eat." Right?
Right.
So fortunately, he lived in a time when that like people did kind of care for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't good at the basics.
Hmm.
Einstein probably had ADHD. He wasn't good at the basics,
Yeah.
and people are still working through his theories.
Yeah. Yeah. He was brilliant.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, so it has to do with our environment. So if the purpose is our environment, we're so sensitive to environment, take that as a lesson. And there
Hmm.
might be some people you can't be around for now,
Hmm.
because when you're around them, you're going to go down this path. We are so sensitive to our environment. We're sensitive to everything we take in.
Hmm.
You mentioned your wife had complex post traumatic stress disorder. Um, those of us with ADHD, we tend to be more sensitive to stress, which means we are more likely to develop post traumatic stress disorder.
Hmm.
If you put two people in a field, under gunfire, the person with ADHD is more likely to develop the PTSD. So we have to be very clear that our brains aren't built like other people's brains,
Hmm.
and it means we can't do it.
Yeah.
So I have standards for myself because I know other people. I mean, it's like me not wanting to have type 2 diabetes. Other people can eat sugar. My numbers
Right.
are only normal when I stop eating sugar and most simple carbs.
Wow.
That's how I have to live.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm talking metaphorically here, and I'm saying to your listeners, let's figure out how you live best. And let's just be kind to that gentle to that brain you have. Stop being angry at it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good. And I think again, for someone who's made it this far into the interview, I think even just the way you're describing it, I'm sure people feel very validated. And I think hopefully that helps to just feel okay
Yeah,
with, your experience and what it's been like so far. You
yeah,
talked about nature earlier in the interview, and I know when you were speaking with our clients, you talked about this as well. It was really, really good, very impactful. And you talked about how you're not the person who's, and forgive me if this is maybe a little bit, I think it was a couple years ago, so I might be a little inaccurate, but I remember you saying you're not the person who's going to wake up in the morning and sit at a table for an hour and read their Bible and spend time with God that way.
oh, heaven's
You're gonna,
sakes.
but you'll get up and you'll
Yeah,
put your shoes on and go for a walk and talk to God that way and pray and
yeah,
whatever else. I wonder if you can just talk a little bit about first, why is this so important? I think everybody would acknowledge that's important, but I
uh-huh,
can hear the emphasis from you that if you have ADHD, you really need to like circle this and put a star beside it. This is
yeah,
really important. So tell us why, and then
yeah.
maybe talk us through some practicals.
I'll never forget the day I figured this out. I was driving down the road, and I tend to pray a lot when I drive, and I
Bad
realize
drivers or
it's in
what?
no, it's just like that's when like God's a passenger,
Yeah,
and I just sit and talk.
yeah.
And I can listen better because I'm also driving. And I just remember thinking, I feel like I'm a broken Christian. I feel broken.
Hmm.
And and I said it. I hate doing devotions. I think devotions are stupid. And I'm like, there, I said it. And I do. I think devotions are stupid. Not reading my Bible, that's a different thing. I'm talking
Yeah,
about like,
the
you
devotionals.
know, my bottom of the seat. Yeah. Yeah, the middle class American way of doing devotions.
Right.
Little highlighter, special little pen, all that drives me nuts. I'm like, but I really want a relationship with you, God. And it was one of those moments where I realized he's like, I created you differently. Just deal with it. Walk with me just like you're supposed to.
Hmm.
And now it's funny. I'm going to tell you my favorite verse, but I can never quote it directly. This is probably where I should say ADHD people have problems memorizing things
Okay.
because of short term memory issues. Okay.
Okay.
But in Micah, I think it's 6:4, what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God.
Hmm.
And I was drawn back to that verse. I'm like, oh, I can do this. If that's what you're asking, I can do it. So when
Hmm.
do I have my best prayer time? We live on a small lake when I'm out on the paddleboard and I'm paddling around our small little lake. That's
Hmm.
when I have the best time. When I'm gardening, when I'm doing something else, when my body is busy, my spirit's free to talk to God,
Yeah.
right? I'm not worrying
Yeah.
about fidgeting. Um, Ancient Christians had things to do. They walked mazes, they held things, they developed things to do to keep their body occupied while their spirit talked to God.
Hmm.
And and so I'm not trying to divide our spirit from our body because I know it all kind of coalesces, but I do just want to say it's okay. We have to find how do we want to walk with God. And our walk with God can look so different.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be informed by our middle class culture.
Yeah.
We can do it not in a hashtag blessed way. Sorry for the sarcasm. Not sorry. But um so I want to I'm very passionate about removing the barriers to God. God didn't put up those barriers.
Hmm.
He wants to know you. He loves you. He wants to walk with you.
Yeah.
So figure out how you can walk. And it looks different.
Yeah.
So that's and by the way, we live in a beautiful time. We can listen to the Bible on our phones.
Yes.
while walking in nature.
Yeah.
How wonderful is that?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, again, this is where like I'm trying to connect as much of the dots because there's
Yep.
a lot of information in this podcast. So if a stimulant like caffeine in theory
Mhm.
is good, quote unquote, for the ADHD
Yep.
nervous system because it regulates and it
Yep.
stabilizes. And that's kind of like it's a paradoxical dynamic. It's the
Mhm.
opposite of what you expect. Whereas I
Mhm.
think people would expect if I go into nature, nature should be calming and regulating. So
Mhm.
how does something like, again, not that nature's like a relaxant, it's not chemical,
Yeah.
but are there other things like that that people with ADHD can use or integrate into their life
Mhm.
to calm themselves down? And is there anything that
Yeah.
you think, oh, this is a relaxant typically, but maybe it's not for the ADHD nervous system?
Yeah. So, first of all, let me answer a question you didn't ask.
Okay.
Um, the question you didn't ask was, well, why wouldn't I just stick with caffeine as my stimulant to regulate and bring on the
Right.
butler?
True.
Um, and the answer to that is the clunkiest way. That is so clunky. And it
Right.
has to, it goes through your body so differently, and it's going to upset your stomach. And there's all these after effects. And
Hmm.
for me personally, if I get too much caffeine, yes, I might feel calm, but my body's like, oh no, we are not doing this, ma'am.
Yeah, there's secondary effects there.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
that's why, and so I want to be very clear to your listeners, going and buying a Red Bull will deplete your body and do
Yeah.
more harm. It might feel good, like, I can focus. It will harm your body.
Hmm.
So you're writing checks your body's not going to be able to cash.
Hmm.
Um, Same with any high caffeinated drink.
Hmm.
And I'm talking beyond coffee kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I just want to
Okay.
be
No, I'm
clear
glad you
with
mentioned
that.
that. Yep,
Yep.
very important. Because yeah, we are kind of saying like, oh, caffeine's it's a
Yeah.
stimulant. It's got the opposite
Yeah.
effect, and
Yep.
that could
Well,
be
and I
yep
said
carte blanche for someone.
before I was diagnosed, that's what I would do kind of instinctively.
Yeah.
Um, but that's going to be too hard. And remember, I would go order that iced tea without ice, and I would get an hour and a half from that. And
Hmm.
then afterwards, you would just see me
The
almost like
crash. Yeah.
deflate, like those
Yeah.
inflatable, like, woo. So when you're properly medicated, you don't have that um, bumpy ride. You just have a
Hmm.
smoother, focused time. So
Hmm.
I kind of want to be clear
Yes.
about that. Now,
Yes.
we do know, and there are two camps on this of my clients. Exercise is so regulating for our bodies.
Hmm.
However, we don't. s- Half my clients hate exercise. Okay, I'm in that camp. I don't like
Okay.
to exercise just for exercise. I like to work for my exercise, meaning like stack wood,
Okay.
pull weeds. I have 6 chickens, so monkey around with a chicken coop. Like, I like that kind of exercise.
Okay.
Paddleboarding to me isn't enough exercise because it's just so relaxing for me.
Yeah.
But I like to work. The other camp is, I just love exercise. And if you're in that camp, dude, take advantage of this. Um, Bicycling is so good for your brain. I used to do a lot of mountain biking. Um, that's good.
Hmm.
Like exercise running. I don't like to run unless I'm being chased and I'm in danger. But for those of you who like running and like the beat of it and just the kind of calming, do that. Whatever
Yeah.
you can do to get your body active, exercise is very good for you.
Hmm.
So do
Okay.
embrace the exercise. Again, I'm a little bit trickier about it because I'm in the camp that I don't like it, but I
Yeah.
love working. Man, I love weeding something. I keep looking out the window going, I did that. Or building something. I did that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So exercise is just so good for our body. Sunlight. Getting natural sunlight
Hmm.
is imperative.
Okay.
Okay, I live in Michigan. The sun is going to go away for 6 months, and I'm
Yes.
not even exaggerating. In West Michigan, we rival Seattle, a
Yes.
lot of times.
I'm the same latitude as you as well, just on the Canadian border, on the Canadian side. But yeah.
Yes, and so you understand, like, the sun
Yes.
goes bye-bye,
Yeah.
and, and the earth tilts, and so because of that, we don't even get enough sun. Okay.
Hmm.
So those of us who can't get natural sunlight. So let's first talk to your people who are listening. If you have the sunlight, let's say you're lucky enough to live in Scottsdale, Arizona, right? Get that morning sunlight into your brain. We're very sensitive to how our brain kind of registers time, and we register time through having that early morning sun come up.
Yes. Can you just open the blinds, or should people be getting outside?
I strongly prefer outside.
Okay.
And listen, if you're blessed enough to live in Scottsdale, own
Yeah.
that,
Go
get your
outside.
behind outside.
Yeah.
Just go
Yeah.
have your coffee in the sunlight, okay? I'm being a little flippant, but there are parts of the world that actually see the sun.
Yeah.
Now, for you and I, um, and my clients with ADHD are very sensitive to sunlight, and so we want to be very careful. Um, you do need to get a sun lamp and sit in front of that in the morning.
Hmm.
And the research is really clear on this. Um,
Interesting.
this helps regulate our mood. It helps us know when to go to bed. It helps gosh, it affects our appetite even.
Hmm.
And so, it's so funny. I can tell my clients who haven't been using their sun lamps because they're just like cranky, mopey. In West Michigan, we don't know when it's sunlight or sun. Like, it's always like this murky, like
Gray, gray sky kind of
gray
thing. Yeah.
Scotland kind of day,
Yeah.
right? Where we don't know if it's morning, we don't know if it's night. It's just blah, right?
Yes.
No leaves. Why do I live here? Oh no, yeah, right. Our springs are beautiful, um
Yeah.
but we really need to get that natural sunlight.
Yeah.
So, even then if you can go out and go for a walk even when it's not sunny, um that natural light still helps a little
Hmm.
bit, but because we spend so much of our winters inside,
Yeah.
getting that our artificial sunlight is so important.
Yes, the circadian rhythm is so important for all of it,
Yes,
and
yes,
you're right. Like if you start your day off properly, that can dictate the entire course of the next
yep,
12 to 16 hours that you're awake. So
it does. And the
really
research
important.
is those of us with ADHD, we're very sensitive to our circadian rhythm, and it can get messed up just like that.
Oh, interesting. Now, the light the artificial light, is that the same light that somebody would buy if they had seasonal affective disorder?
Yes,
Like the
exactly the
10,000
same.
lux and yeah, okay, got it.
10,000 or above Alex, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Um, yep. Uh, so I do something. I have a near infrared sauna that I use,
Ah,
and I'm amazed at how that has helped me.
hmm,
So find your thing, but make sure. I mean, we crave light, and we need
hmm.
light.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, okay.
so that we're very sensitive. Please, this this is so important for absolutely every human, but for ADHD people, is even because we're sensitive. Our vitamin D levels, keep those up.
Hmm,
Um, so many of my clients are vitamin D deficient, even in
hmm.
the summer, which means they're probably not getting enough sunlight. Or sometimes when you have a certain genetic variations, you won't take in vitamin D as accurately,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So watch the vitamin D because that vitamin D kind of promotes certain things happening, serotonin, and it doesn't have a direct link, but it has to be the precursor.
Yeah.
So you want that in your body. So we
Yeah.
really want to start seeing ourselves as something to care for. I don't, I don't, well, your neuronormative brain. So I just saw my body as this thing I had to lug around that held my brain. And
Yeah.
so I didn't give much time to it.
Yeah.
And now I start to see it as, okay, this is something I have to care for.
Mm,
And it changes the way I think because I'm like, well, I'm going to go to bed because I I'm going to care for myself.
yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of my clients don't want to go to bed because they they're doing the revenge of staying up late because it's finally quiet and they can be
Yeah.
like little elves around their house.
Right.
Um, I yeah. I try to shift that to go, Are you caring well for yourself?"
Yeah. Yeah, it's so helpful. And so, for someone who is listening to this, and maybe you struggle with ADHD, maybe you have other people in your life that struggle as well, make
Yeah,
sure you're passing this along. This is so good, so practical. And if you think, hey, I think my best friend might have ADHD, or
yeah,
somebody you're married to, maybe you had the experience like I did the first time I heard Dr. Tamara. Make sure that you're spreading this around to. I guarantee you, someone listening has someone in their life who needs to hear this.
yeah,
So, pass it along. Two final questions. Number one, um, some undertones I'm hearing are the importance of kind of like I think of like naturopathy, like the like lifestyle. Like it sounds like you're on top of your blood markers and some of those things.
mhm,
Obviously, we just talked about circadian rhythm and sunlight and vitamin D, and some of
yeah.
these things that come into it. Do you guys often do a lot of referrals to other practitioners that like okay, if someone's struggling with ADHD, but they see this naturopathic doctor and they get some of the stuff sorted, it's really going to make our work here more effective. Is there anyone like that that's very high referral for you?
Yeah, I do. I do. I know a lot of naturopathic doctors in my area. So, what we try to do though is sometimes my clients don't have the capacity. Naturopathic is a hard way to go. You almost have to
Yeah.
live counterculturally,
You
right?
do. Yep. It's usually not
And
cheap, and yeah, it's difficult.
exactly. And so
Yep.
sometimes my clients are like, "This is not the way I can go right now."
Yeah.
And I'm like, then let's get you to your primary care and just get a stimulant and let's start to regulate. If
Okay.
that's what we can do, let's do that. So I don't, some people go, oh, you have to do this or you have to do this. Um, I love naturopathic remedies.
Yeah.
That is always my go-to. But I'm willing to live a little bit Spartan sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Um, And not everyone is at a place they can do that. When I
Yep.
was younger and I had a whole bunch of kids in the house, you think I could eat sugar-free then?
Right.
No, it was just great if I didn't stop at McDonald's 5 days a week, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's it's I have a lifestyle that can go that way now.
Yep.
So I just wanna be clear, I don't wanna set up any guilt for anyone that there's a right way to do this. The
Yep.
right way to do this is to have compassion, look in the mirror and go, This is who I am.
Hmm.
And how can I help myself right now? And it
Hmm.
might be going the medical route and getting medication. It might be naturopathic. However you can care for your neurology is
Hmm.
what we're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it is about the nervous system at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, and oh, go
By
ahead.
the way, anything we can do to calm the nervous system, there's vagal exercises online. Goodness, there's music, 532 hertz,
Hmm.
that has research.
Okay.
Now that I said the number, is it 532 or 582? Look on Spotify, you're gonna know. It's the good hertz, and
Okay.
it's so obvious. Sorry, I'm blanking on the number.
Okay. No problem.
Um, but, do things intentionally to calm your nervous system. I
Okay.
use something called emotional, freedom tapping,
Okay.
EFT, that is
Okay.
highly effective for those of us with ADHD.
Interesting.
And so I wanted to encourage, especially if you're working with an addiction and ADHD, EFT
Yeah.
is a great way to go for
Okay.
support.
Yes. Yeah, and that's been proven in our space for sure. Very effective.
Yeah.
432 and 528. Those are the two different frequencies
528. Good.
that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ah,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And look
Yeah.
how you just did that with such ease. I'm like, well, if I do it, you're gonna really notice she's looking it up. So,
No,
um,
that's great.
I have
Go
this
ahead.
other thing called dyscalculia. And
Okay.
dyscalculia is like dyslexia with numbers. It
Ah,
occurs in many of us with ADHD also. I just don't hold numbers Like if you pointed a gun at me and said, "Remember this," I'd be like, "Oh shoot. Well,
Right.
it's been a good life." So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you held that one really well. 528. You nailed it.
Well,
Uh,
but then I doubted myself. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah."
Yeah.
But
um.
528 really is, there's classical music at 528.
Okay.
We don't have to do some of my clients are like, "Oh, that sounds new agey." I'm like, "No, there's a lot of music at 528. Just go 528."
Yeah. Amazing. Um. Okay. One last question, and maybe we'll bring you back and just do a whole interview on this because this would be fascinating. What is something if somebody's listening to this, they are neurotypical,
Yeah,
but they're aware, they're having that, that eureka moment of, oh wow, okay, my
so and
wife,
so.
my best
Uh-huh.
friend, my parent, my kid has ADHD. What give us just, I guess, some best practices. Obviously, it's going to be a
Yeah,
machine gun answer here, but where can we start to be a good support to
yeah,
those in our lives who have
yeah.
ADHD?
So first of all, I work with families and they're coming to me with their child and they say, well, I say, "So this is highly hereditary. Where do we think it comes from?" And, there's always two people in front of me, and one's kind of nodding at the other, kind of twitching, nodding, going, And then I'll kind of look and smile, and the other person will go, "Well, I guess it's me." So
Right.
those of us who we know there's already something going on in us, and we know there's always it's probably not good. I mean, that's kind of the assumption we come to. Yeah, I'm different, and it's not a good thing. So
Mm,
we might already be feeling shame or kind of embarrassment. So please don't blurt out, "You got ADHD." Right?
mm.
Because I'm gonna go, "No, you're a stupid head." Right?
Right.
That's just
Yeah.
not a great response. So
Yeah.
we can just be curious. And being curious is such a great way. "I notice working on the calendar is really hard for you. Why do you think it's so hard?" And I might go, "I don't know, but I'm so tired of that." And
Mm,
then offer like, do you want to go and talk to someone about that? Because this is a real frustration for you. And
hmm.
so we're walking along beside of showing curiosity and care.
Hmm. Okay. Yep, makes a lot of sense. And yeah, the curiosity thing, I realize that goes a long way. Even like, because between online content, whatever, people often come with a lot of assumptions, and there's a lot of
Yep.
things like there's a lot of individual variance to this. We don't want people to think because you listen to one episode here that you suddenly know everything about ADHD either, right? We're talking
Oh,
in
heavens, no.
generalities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Tamara, for people who want to find out more about what you're up to, you mentioned the ADHD Center. Do you guys offer virtual services as well, or is it just in person?
Yes, but our therapists are only licensed in Colorado and Michigan.
Okay.
We do have ADHD coaches, some
Oh,
specializing in addiction,
okay. Excellent.
and ADHD coaches can coach all over the globe virtually.
Yes.
And we do parent coaching. We do a lot of spouse coaching. So
Okay.
let's say you're married to has ADHD, but you don't, and you're trying to figure out how do we talk the same language.
Yeah.
We have that too.
I might
I've
be signing
also
up for some
written,
of that. That sounds
yep,
good.
I've also written two books. Your Brain's Not Broken. And my second book is You, Me, and Our ADHD Family. And I wrote that because I really have a heavy heart for what families go through when there's
Yeah.
neurodivergence in the family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's what that book's about.
Okay. Best website for you?
It is my author's website is www.tamararosier, TAMARAROSIER.com.
Okay, perfect. So we'll put links to everything in there for people to go learn about the ADHD Center and obviously all the amazing stuff you're up to. I always enjoy talking to you, Dr. Tamara, and it's never long enough. Thank you so much for your time
You're
today.
just awesome. Thanks for the work you do.